Terry there?
I am.
So when he left, he ended the session. So I'm going to send out an email to everybody real quick. Okay, actually, he ended it. So we're learning. We're learning there. So
No problem.
Some people are starting to come back in. So good. We're figuring it out.
Okay.
I'll go. Oh, we're still live. I can turn my camera back on.
Do you know why it's making that noise? I don't feel like I have anything on that could be causing that.
What noise are you hearing?
If you can't hear it, then that's fine. It's kind of like a, okay, that's fine then.
Okay, so people are coming back live. So we've got we'll give everybody a few more minutes.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to listen into that?
I did. Actually, I was able to join right at the beginning, which was great and
Good.
really interesting. Our own organization, we're looking at having people coming back into the office as well. So definitely really informative for me too. And we're trying to think about the in-person services for the Kentucky Career Centers. We have 5 of those, and not only bringing the staff back, but eventually bringing the public back.
Yeah.
And there's so many considerations to keep both our staff safe, the public safe, and also best serve everybody. So I found Jeremy's comments really, really helpful and really interesting.
Yeah, that was there was a lot of great information there, and I talked to him a couple times in advance. Obviously, not being an attorney, that's a lot of information. But it was, man, he made it really easy to digest and take it all in. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's give everybody just about one more minute. So while we're waiting for everybody else to log in, so I did want to let everybody know that Ulimi has been stepping up and figuring out how to help in this situation. And so we just recently released the Ulimi Reach Health Assessment Survey. It's currently being used by Berkshire Hathaway, Fujitec, and JTM Food Group. It is an effective and efficient return to work compliance program, starting at $1 per employee per month. So if you want more information on that, feel free to reach out to me. Or you can just go to sales@ulimi.com and just send an email, and we'll get right back to you. Okay, so let's jump in and get started. So, Tara, Tara Johnson-Noem is with she is the director of the Northern Kentucky Workforce Investment Board. And Tara, I know you guys, tell us a little bit about your normal mission, and then tell us a little bit about what you've actually been doing during the last several weeks.
That's a great question. So we're always devoted to connecting employers with a qualified workforce and the talent that they need. And that also, of course, includes helping those job seekers find the open positions and get the appropriate training or assistance that they might need to, maybe it's a job fair, maybe it's a resume builder, maybe it's a mentor, to help them be able to be eligible and ready to go for our local employers for the benefit overall, right, of strong economic development. We operate 5 physical locations that are part of the statewide Kentucky Career Center network. We have Covington, Florence. We are one of the only career centers in the nation to have one actually in an international airport. So we have a location at CVG. And then we have operations in Williamstown and Carrollton as well, because we actually serve 8 counties. But right now, what that's looking like, we have an extensive network of partners. We're not doing this on our own. We have 13 partners that we're working with. One of those is the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And so our staff and many of the other partners physically at the Career Center have stepped up and volunteered to take unemployment insurance calls. So if we had this conversation, Doug, in February, I would have said, look, we are 24/7 doing employer services, attracting talent, and talent services, helping those job seekers. We have staff either spending a portion or all of their workday right now answering unemployment calls because we know that the need unfortunately has been so high. We are there for people that are looking for jobs still. And we have a lot of jobs posted by our employers. We've been helping about 100 employers in the last month with that issue. But we're also handling unemployment calls because we just know people need that support.
Right. So you said you're helping employers get jobs posted. So there are still plenty of employers hiring, it sounds like.
There are. We've got this list right here. It's on our website, nkcareercenter.org. As you might imagine, we've got a lot of jobs right now in the transportation and logistics field. We have a number of jobs in the health field, everything from testing to caregiving. And we also have some other positions, places like Fifth Third Bank that are hiring right now. So if people are looking for a job at the moment, there are still options out there for sure.
Excellent. That's great to hear. And some of those sound like they'd be fairly decently paying jobs as well.
That is correct. There's a range really for kind of any level of profession at this point. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, one of the concerns that we've been hearing a lot is that companies are concerned about getting people to return to work for a number of reasons. So could we jump into that and kind of talk about those concerns and maybe where they're coming from?
Yes, absolutely. We know that one of the concerns from a logistical standpoint is if we have people that are caring for children, their families or their parents, maybe they're even grandparents caring for kids. It looks like childcare is going to open in Kentucky in mid-June, at least in a limited way.
Yeah.
And so between now and then, families are doing what they can to split time and to have one, parent, if it's a two-parent family. But it's really challenging for those people that cannot work remotely or cannot flex their schedule just to make it work. So we know that's an issue. Obviously, there's health concerns. If you have somebody who has some sort of any number of conditions where they're more susceptible to this virus, obviously they might be concerned about headed back into a group environment. And then, we've heard this from a number of employers. They are very concerned about, unemployment insurance and the CARES Act was really needed at a time when people are getting laid off. But we do have some employers that are just anxious to see what happens when they do call those employees back and will they come back into the labor force immediately.
Yeah, and I think the child care issue in particular, I don't have young children anymore, but I have got 4. And I don't believe that if they were still my babies, that I would have sent them to a daycare at this point in time. Matter of fact, I know I wouldn't have. I'm sure other parents feel the same.
Yeah, we have been it's definitely a concern. We have been in close conversations with some of our, 5-star rated childcare facilities in Northern Kentucky, to see what they're doing. They're, of course, doing everything that they possibly can to figure out everything from thorough, cleaning procedures to smaller class sizes. But sure, as a mother of a toddler who gives lots of kisses at the moment, it is definitely a challenge, especially for the younger kids. And they know that, and they're working through all of the things right now. Yeah.
Yeah, really difficult to explain to your little one, hey, you can't hug him. It's right. Not going to happen, So
itself is really hard for those toddlers to get. Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. So do you think, we did touch on a little bit about the added benefits, and I did read again last night, they're thinking about extending them more. And I agree, they're completely needed, but it's almost like we're entering a kind of a catch-22 here.
Yeah.
Is this a legitimate concern? Will people just stay on the sidelines?
Well, one thing that we do know that we've heard from our colleagues in Frankfurt is that, and this is hopefully something that will make employers feel a little bit better, but also, still provides that protection for those individuals who just simply cannot return to work at the moment, is that what will happen if an employer calls their workforce back and someone says, look, I cannot come back, right? For it's a health reason or it's a childcare reason. We'll just leave it at that for the moment. Um, if the employee has been called back and the employer is able to say, look, we've made these accommodations, that that individual will basically be transferred to what the state calls pandemic unemployment assistance. So that's the money that came through the CARES Act. Um, that person will be supported for a certain number of weeks, but the employer will not be, first of all, paying for that person's unemployment. It'll come out of more of like what they call the trust fund, which is like the pool for unemployment. And the other thing that will happen is that employer will not be required to hold that person's job open. And so while obviously, ideally everybody would just return to where they were, this is a mechanism that will hopefully allow employers to do what they need to do to fill their spots, but also provide added protection for somebody. They'll be in that different program that's federally funded, while these transitions are continuing. So that's my understanding based on feedback from Deputy Secretary Josh Benton and the rest of the cabinet.
And does the pandemic insurance, does the pandemic unemployment, what does, I mean, so the employer is off the hook. So
Yeah.
that is that what, okay. So I understood that. So for the employee, how long do they determine how long that can last?
It will be the same. Basically, they'll go into everybody has an online portal.
Hmm.
They will automatically, is my understanding, but certainly they can go into their online portal and check their status. But basically, they will be switched on to that PUA, which is the acronym for Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. So it will continue with the amount of time, however much longer they had for their unemployment, they'll continue on that.
Yeah. Have you seen or have you heard from any of the employers you work with any innovations or anything that they're doing to help people return to work safely or otherwise?
Absolutely. We are seeing so many examples of flexible schedules, telework. A lot of people have commented to me how certainly there are jobs that telework is certainly just not an option. But we have heard about, a lot of positives about people who have been able to make a telework situation work, or maybe somebody flexes and they go in off hours to stagger and allow for social distancing. Everything from, altering even assembly lines when in a more of a manufacturing environment to allow people to be safe.
Excellent. So that's great. So now you mentioned you guys work with Brighton Center. Am I saying
Yeah.
that correct? Okay.
Yes, we contract with them to do the Career Center operations, and then they
Yeah.
also do our direct services. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know a lot of you mentioned big services that you guys provide are really it's the connecting the employee to the employer. What type of steps are you guys taking to innovate that process so employers who are hiring have access to employees and vice versa?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I would say that this has definitely been a continued evolution and a work in progress over the last couple of months. We started out, Brighton started out pretty quickly transitioning to Facebook Live events on a weekly basis, where they are highlighting one employer and allowing that employer to talk about their workplace, what kinds of jobs they have available. And we actually know of an example, at least one, where someone got hired specifically because they were engaging with that Facebook Live event. We're also really happy to see, good numbers during the live event, but thousands of people have been watching those videos after the event, which is great. We're also doing, Brighton is also conducting seminars online for employers about how to go through the hiring process, helping with either social distancing or virtual hiring. The other thing that we're working on is what we call Discover KCC, and Brighton has now been offering Facebook Live events and Zoom calls for employers to be able to engage about really what are all the various services that are provided through the Career Center network, and actually all the partners. So Brighton and the WIB, but also groups like the Kenton County Library and Tank. There are still people out in the community that are having to ride the bus to get to their job, be it at the hospital or, at Kroger or wherever it is. So it's been really great to see that the uptick and pretty quick adoption of everything from Facebook Live to Zoom and to Teams and, pretty much everything that they can think of.
Yeah, I'm just curious. You just brought up Tank. How is our local public transportation? Are they safe distancing? Have they limited the number of people that can be on a bus?
Yeah, they have. They've made a number of changes to really focus on those individuals that need Tank to get to work. They're loading through the back of the bus
Okay.
so that individuals are not coming into direct contact with the driver. And definitely, I think they're marking off the seats so people are staggering.
Okay.
So it's a little bit limited, but they're still out there for those individuals that need that service.
So while we take a break here, does anybody in the chat room have a question for Tara? Go ahead and post it now. We are starting to kind of wind down to the last few minutes here. So if you have questions, this would be time to go. So, do you guys, what do you, does your organization or anybody that you represent, do you have anything coming up on the horizon that is significant or important that you'd like to share? I know Brighton Center has their big veterans job fair coming up. I'm assuming that's going to be postponed. But anything else coming up?
Yeah, we have a conversation actually tomorrow. We call it Partner for Success. It's a quarterly, typically in-person event, but it's I think you can find the link on our website, nkcareercenter.org. This installment of Partner for Success obviously will be virtual, and it's going to highlight what our educational institutions have been doing to make the transition to virtual. So we'll have someone from Thomas More, someone from Gateway, someone from NKU, and then someone from Brighton Center's CET, which is the Center for Employment and Training, talking about, obviously there's some kinds of training that can absolutely transition to virtual, but not every potential trainee, every student is going to be able to maybe take advantage of that. So they're going to be talking about all of those dynamics tomorrow morning, I believe. It's on our website.
So then that is open to the public then?
It is. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody's welcome to join us.
So we got a question. Is there a link for folks in Kentucky that you can share with people seeking information and jobs?
Absolutely. I would just have everybody go, and I can try to see if I can, it says
the Kentucky Career Center?
It's the Kentucky Career Center. Locally, our site is the nkcareercenter.org. And I'm sorry, I'm not very good at operating this chat feature.
I got it for you.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Of course, my eyesight's horrible. So
let's see. This is NY. Let's see if we can do it.
Okay. Oh, is it NY, not NK?
Yeah, NK.
Oh, NK. Okay, you got it.
.org. Yeah. And then I would just say, as far as other things we have coming up, Doug, we are looking at what reopening looks like. And it's really something where reopening to those individuals that maybe need access to, maybe it's our resource room where we have computers people can use for job search. We're going to start having Zoom carts available where somebody needs to do a Zoom interview that they can do basically. But we're continuing to figure out how to keep on doing all this virtually as well. We've learned a lot, and actually I think have made a lot of positive changes with having a lot of this virtually available, especially for our employer community. So we're going to keep doing that as well.
So we do have another question. So what are some of the concerns and or opportunities that you're seeing employees have as they do start to reopen and trying to fill positions or just doing basic employee engagement with their existing employees?
Yeah, I think Jeremy talked about some of these things. There's a lot of concern amongst employers about, just what exactly does this look like? And we're also seeing, as far as the answer to that, just as much communication as possible with their employees. As people start being called back, what are those expectations from a health and safety standpoint? What is each individual employee's entry process. I mean, everything from as specific as how do you come into the building, what, PPE will you be wearing, depending on what kind of organization and what kind of work you do. And I think employers, are coming to us with questions like, how do we communicate as much as possible? If you are an employer and you need help filling your positions, we can post those on our featured jobs link, and we can also really dive in with a business support specialist and really help you figure that out. So please feel free to call. They can actually call 292-6666 and get connected directly with one of our business services team members. And I can put that on there, 292-6666.
Area code for that?
It's 859.
859. You got it. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and it came up in Jeremy's segment, but I'll run it past you as well. So if employers, we've got to do some kind of check before people can come in. So if we've got a line and we're standing there taking temperatures, how are those people? Are they getting paid? I mean, if you're an employee and you're making $11 an hour and you show up and you got to spend 15 minutes, but you're paying someone to babysit your child, and you're going to spend 15 minutes up front, that's not going to last very long.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I have not gotten that in depth with any of our employers, but for us as an organization, we the WIB functions out of the Northern Kentucky Area Development District in Florence, and so my understanding is for us, once you're on site, even if you're in your line, that's part of your day.
Yeah.
But I can see it, going either way. So maybe if you're a place where somebody has to actually log in some way, that might be different. So that's, again, another way that employers can really communicate what that expectation is, with their employees. And, maybe now that you got me thinking, maybe that's another video. We have a lot of videos on our website, resources for employers. And so maybe that's another one that we need up as some ideas about how to best communicate with their staff.
Yeah, I suspect there's going to be a lot of issues that we just can't think of in advance as people. That one right there, until he said it, I never thought about that. But I mean, if you're a manufacturer and you've got 150 people coming in for a shift, that could be a long wait.
It sure can. And there's going to be some organizations where maybe you can have a staggered start time.
Right.
Going to be other organizations where that is just simply not going to work.
Right.
So again, I think that's just where we're going to get to. We're all learning and we're all trying to adapt as we can, and communicating as clearly and as frequently as we can when something comes up like that, I think is going to be our best bet for.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. On Sunday morning, I had to run to Target, and they were taking their employees' temperatures. I got there right as they opened, but they were already inside the store, and customers were already inside the store. And I just kind of in my brain, I rolled my eyes a little bit. I thought, are you serious? They're already in here. It's too late.
Right.
So that to me was interesting. So I think that gets back to the best practices. There's some evolution that's going to have to take place here, because I feel like once the employee is inside or the visitor is inside, the cat's out of the bag. It's too late then. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I'm theoretically everybody's going to be wearing their mask. So that might help, might help a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but when I walk into my office, I actually hold this little Lysol wipe and I use it to open the door. And so that's one option that you might want to think about.
Yeah, fortunately for me, I work from home, and my daughters have been obsessive about going around and Lysoling all the doorknobs and everything. I've been kind of teasing them a little bit. I'm like, hey, come on.
There's definitely some benefits to a working from home environment. That is for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm fortunate that I've got, a place that I can do that and do that for a long term. So I hope I know not everybody's that way. So there's precautions that need to be taken. So as I said in the last segment, 30 minutes go so fast. Is there any other things that you wanted to pass on to the folks listening or who will be watching later?
Yeah, I would just, I know I said this before, but I would just really reiterate that, the mission of the Workforce Investment Board, all of our partners, Brighton Center, who's our contract provider, for direct services. We're all here to serve our employer community and to serve everyone in our workforce, even if they're not in the workforce right now, but they want to be. And so I know not everybody has, internet access, but I would assume everybody on this call does because that's how they got here. But I would just say, that 292 6666 number, if you're interacting with somebody who needs assistance, have them call that and, we'll get them to the right place. If you need additional resources, Jeremy mentioned his website. We also have so many resources for employers when they're thinking about hiring in this environment. Less on the liability side, obviously, more on the logistical ideas about exactly how an employer might go about doing that. And, on the more grim side, if an employer is having to deal with an e-claim, a layoff situation, we have those support materials and resources as well. And we're tied in to the state entire Career Center network and the cabinet for workforce. So, we're able to get information, and I would just ask them to, feel free to take us up on that because that's exactly why we're here.
Well, that's fantastic. And so we are now at the top of the hour. So Tara, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and you always have so much information. So it was great to have you on.
Good to see you, Doug. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Okay. Everybody take care. Have a great week, and we'll see you back here next week at 10 a.m. For another great discussion and information sharing. Thanks a lot. Have a great week, everyone.
See ya.
Bye-bye.